Welcome back to the Edwards Report. My name's Kalen, and today we're diving headfirst into one of the most frustrating, controversial, and confusing issues in America. The question of whether or not illegal migrants are living off of your tax dollars. We've heard it all. They can't get welfare. They're not eligible. Or they're draining the system and it's costing us billions. The question is, what's the truth? Today, we're pulling the mask off of this broken system, exposing just how illegal immigrants are receiving benefits, where the money goes, how the loopholes work, and what it means for your wallet, your neighborhood, and the soul of this country.
Officials are forcing more than 20 families living in government housing out of their homes. The Pasco County Authority says they have found many of those people lied about being U.S. citizens. ABC Action News reporter Eric Waxler shows us how it happened.
I think we've lost heart. I think we've lost soul.
Community activist Margarita Romo has spent decades trying to help farm workers and other immigrants in and around Dade City. And now, as many of them face eviction today, she worries, especially for the children.
We're talking about 60 kids that had to find a different way to go to school. So it's not, and these are all American kids.
Eviction notices went out to several people living at Cypress Farms Apartments, which is operated by the Pasco County Housing Authority. It started when Homeland Security discovered a tenant was here illegally after using a fraudulent Social Security card.
Obviously, we cannot have people participating in programs that are not qualified to participate in them. I mean, we can't.
Officials say an audit of the program found 20 others were also lying about their qualifications.
Man, that's so hard because the children are technically U.S. citizens because they were born here. And it's a loophole in the system. It's like they're taking advantage of it. I get why they're doing it. It's because the way the laws are written incentivizes it. Like, it makes a lot of sense. It's just unfair to American citizens that pay into these programs that sometimes can't even get the benefit of them because of people that are misusing it like this. The real problem here, though, for me is that not doing stuff right in the first place just begets terrible, terrible consequences down the line. Now you have the appeal to emotions because kids are quite literally being ripped out of schools, but that's not the whole story. The story begins at the beginning. And if they had never been brought here, then they would never be in this situation. So I can see it from both sides. It's just that you have to start from the beginning. And when you start wrong, you can end wrong. And that's what this situation is.
Qualifications as citizens, they all have until today to leave. Some were packing up. Most are already gone.
Over the years, we've tried really hard to find a better life for them, but it's very difficult because of immigration, the way immigration works, and the processes are very, very difficult. So some people can be here 20 years and still be waiting for mercy.
The Housing Authority says they will continue to audit all their residents to look for any other cases of fraud. They also acknowledge dozens of qualified U.S. citizens may have been denied housing because people were living here illegally.
Wow.
In Dade City, Eric Waxler.
So where does the compassion go? Does it go to the people who came here illegally? Regardless of if they were here for 20 years, the first thing they did was break the law and then start using up public resources? Or does the compassion go towards real U.S. families that have been paying their taxes that don't get the opportunity to benefit from these public resources? I think it's just so wrong. It's such a hard case to make. Like, they try to appeal to the emotions and use compassion in one direction, and they're just betraying their fellow American citizens. Like, it's so clearly and so obviously wrong that this isn't even political for me. I care for both sides. It's just I care first and foremost for Americans. I'm going to address their needs first because that's who we have allegiance to. And if there's anything more, the compassion extends to people who want to migrate here, but they need to do so legally.
Not giving non-citizens access to benefits designed for Americans. Seems like common sense? Well, you'd be surprised because the White House is officially cutting off taxpayer-funded benefits from immigrants in the country illegally. saying saving Americans an estimated $40 billion. The Trump administration says this has been going on for years, and this move isn't just welfare reform. It's a full-scale rollback of what the president calls decades of bureaucratic defiance. Brian, I'll come to you first. We're talking about Head Start. We're talking about technical education programs, free tuition, SNAP. What's the right thing to do?
Well, it's this. I mean, the crazy thing about these stories is who even knew what kind of benefits illegals were getting? I mean, it's all buried. It's all in the bureaucratic mess.
They knew what the potential was for them to get, which is why they came here. Guys, we have to look at this from an economic standpoint. Look at the incentives that these people have to come here. You have all of these benefits unchecked. You get to come here, and especially under previous administrations, not even have to worry about getting sent back. It don't matter how you enter, plus the benefits. It's a win-win. We can't sit here and act like we don't know why they came. It's wrong the way they did it. But when your government incentivizes it, when you have people that are creating loopholes so that you can do this, why wouldn't you? Well, there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't. And the current administration is exposing why you shouldn't. Alligator Alcatraz, they send you right back, expedited removal. They are not playing. This current administration has de-incentivized illegal immigration because you will get sent to bad places and you might not even get sent back to where you came from. You can sleep peacefully at night. Rest assured, knowing that you're doing things right if you don't start off your new life by breaking the law.
And this is why people say that you've got a huge magnet in the United States, because when you give away basically unlimited welfare benefits, it's a huge incentive for people to come here. So it's sort of obvious that we should end this. You have to be a citizen of the United States, and we should, my view is we should reduce these benefits at the same time, which I think is what the big, beautiful bill, in a way, was starting to do across the board, get fraud out of this. Most Americans would look at this and say, yeah, why would we be giving those benefits?
Well, and the Democrats.
Thank you for doing.
And he's not wrong. This is actually crazy because this is so popular. Like, I know you might see the comments even on this video, and it seems one-sided. But the polls show that both sides of the aisle want this. This is very, very popular with the American people. So it would behoove the politicians to get on the side of their constituents.
For doing.
And the Democrats are playing fast and loose with the facts on the big, beautiful bill as it relates to this. What they're trying to say is those cuts in the big, beautiful bill, we're cutting Medicaid. This is part of the cuts. Cutting it out for illegal immigrants and people that don't deserve to get the benefits. You know, I don't care what they say about Doge, like, oh, it didn't do enough. The fact that we know what USAID does, and
the awareness was
of
priceless.
Funding transgender dance festivals in Bangladesh on
Quick
my
question,
dime
though.
is crazy.
What do you say, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but the pushback, Jerry, has always been, well, these kids were brought in by their parents. Why are we punishing them? They didn't do this, and yet you're taking benefits away from them. How do you solve the cries from the left about you're so mean, you don't believe in humanitarian issues, how dare you?
I'll answer. Do we start doing the right thing today based off of the wrong thing that they did? Do we address the wrong today, or do we address the wrong in the beginning? Because if we just address it today, we're half doing it. We're not dealing with the full story. So I can see where conservatives are coming from, where they're just like, okay, something wrong happened. You're right. Let's address the first wrong thing that happened, which is how you got here in the first place and got yourself in this situation.
Democrats love to take the locus of responsibility from parents and put it on the state. So they're saying if you cut state benefits, you're hurting the children. I think the conservative answer is those children are in the care of their parents. The parents have to make a better choice. If they make an illegal choice, they need to undo that choice.
But let's play devil's advocate. I'm 8 months pregnant and I'm desperate for my child to be an American citizen because I'm so sick of my horrible country and the American dream, and I run across the border for the sake of my child.
Well, I would argue that the 14th Amendment doesn't actually provide birthright citizenship the way the Democrats read it.
You know what I would say?
So we can have a constitutional conversation about that.
That's a big conversation happening right now, and they're using it against black people. And I've seen people that are pretty liberal come in these comments and just be like, "You're next, Kaylin. People like you are next. Your people are next." First, they're gonna use it against quite literal, like people who were not born here. They're gonna use it against you now because this administration is racist, and they're gonna send you back to wherever I'm supposed to be, where my family has been here for generations. So like some people think I'm a tether. They think I'm like from the Caribbean or from Africa, and that like I'm just this conservative commentator that just co-opts the Black American plight and then talks about things like this and is being used as a pawn for people like Fox News. And it's like, that is interesting conspiracy theory. However, it is not true. It's well documented that I've been here since birth, but that's all just a red herring. Let's talk about what actually matters. Are these constitutional laws being interpreted correctly? Yes or no? I'm not even taking a stand. I haven't even read it. But to the extent that they're not being interpreted correctly, they're being used as a loophole for people to take advantage of. And that's not the intent. So let's deal with that. If you have a baby here, does that baby automatically end up a citizen? Or does the status of the parents matter at all? It's worth looking into. I think it is, for the sole reason that it's being exploited. And it creates this chaotic situation where nobody knows what to do because people care about the kid, and we do care about the parent, but we see the parent did something bad to take advantage of something that is written in the law.
You're right to bring up the exceptions because that is the argument, but exceptions make terrible policy.
Yeah,
and I think
fair.
Democrats
You're right about
know
that,
which
You're
is
right.
why they always want to talk exceptions so that you can get terrible policy, and then they've won.
Well,
You've
and
got
you
to
know
make
what they do?
policy on what's substantially actually happening.
When they do that, then they say, oh, well, we've set precedent. We've been doing it for years and years and years and years. So if you've been breaking the rules or misreading the 14th Amendment for years and years and years, that means we can't ever stop doing it. I mean, that's essentially what they say in every aspect. It's like, well, we've been doing it. We can't stop now. Yes, you can.
So this is not a question of whether or not the immigrants are getting benefits. The answer is yes, they get benefits. But the real question is how? Let's start with what's not up for debate. The federal law says that illegal immigrants are not eligible for most government welfare. That includes things like SNAP, Medicaid, SSI, and TANF. That's just the law. But here's the catch. They're really receiving billions in benefits every single year, regardless of what the law says or not. Legally, indirectly, and sometimes, and this is a little bit of the cases, fraudulently. So let's go through what I discovered. Number one, these illegal immigrants are receiving benefits through their U.S.-born children. Roughly 4.5 million U.S. citizen children have undocumented parents. That means that their families qualify for full welfare benefits like SNAP, TANF, Medicaid, and the child tax credit. The money flows not directly to the parents, but to the household. The system isn't broken here. It's just being used exactly as it was designed. Number two, they're receiving benefits through emergency and public health services. Regardless of how they got here, they're eligible for emergency Medicaid, public health programs like vaccines and COVID-19 treatment, WIC, and other school meals. These are mandated by law for humanitarian and public health reasons. But the cost, as you can imagine, adds up pretty fast. Number three, they're getting benefits through loopholes in immigration status that millions have applied for, like asylum. They've received temporary protected status, or they've been granted humanitarian parole. That makes them qualified aliens under federal law, which unlocks full access to programs like food stamps and Medicaid. Don't be mistaken. These are the same people who crossed the border illegally, but then were reclassified through administrative action, not through court rulings. So let's go ahead and follow the money trail. California spent $3.2 billion on emergency care for illegal immigrants in 2023. Texas collects $2.4 billion in taxes from undocumented migrants, but it spends $1.6 billion on public services for them. Florida hospitals have reported over $566 million in uncompensated care for undocumented patients. So when people say they don't get welfare, they're right on a technicality. But on a practicality, that money is still leaving from your paycheck. So go ahead right now and leave a comment. Do you think that mixed status households should be allowed to apply for welfare on behalf of their US born children? Or do you guys think that this is a loophole that is being exploited? I know the current administration is going after the children who are born here that have undocumented parents, and they're calling it the birthright citizenship. They're saying that's being exploited. But what do you guys think? I want to know in the comment section below.
As the administration uncovers waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars, a key focus has been Medicaid, with GOP lawmakers introducing legislation that prohibits health care funding and benefits to illegal aliens. They argue it served as a magnet for crossing the border illegally without seeking asylum. Joining us this morning to discuss the latest headlines on the Hill is Washington insider Armstrong Williams. Good to see you, sir, as always. How much funding has gone to cover medical expenses specifically for illegal aliens?
$27 billion. 3 meals a day, unlimited health care, unlimited visits. I mean, when you think about how Americans are struggling with health care and how quickly these physicians want to get them out of that hospital, no matter what the procedure is, it's almost, it takes your breath away that they're spending this kind of money on people just coming in this country. What you want to get in the country too? If you could get free health care, imagine you realize you've got some kind of health challenge and you can't get it in your country. You almost die to get here just to take advantage of this loophole.
We've also talked about the fact that it also has delayed medical procedures for Americans because there's no room, there's no time on the schedule because of other issues that have persisted within the healthcare industry. Now, one of those big expenses, by the way, is to Planned Parenthood, which they state on their website their doors are open to everyone, including illegal aliens, and that they will not report anyone's status. However, Planned Parenthood affiliates in nearly a dozen states have already received notices of civil rights violations targeting Black communities and encouraging illegal aliens to receive care. And yet Planned Parenthood is also receiving taxpayer dollars. So how is that legal?
You know, Jan, it feels criminal. It feels exploitive. It feels like something happened ages ago. If you want to, I mean, it just reeks with all the wrong things that goes along with family values. They're just exploiting these women and making them believe that they're going to give them a quick fix and the depression that they deal with. And the fact that says, we don't care about your status. We're not going to ask. So it's a wink, wink. Come. All we want to do is take your money. That's what it's about, taking their money. They don't care about them. The aftermath of this procedure, they don't. It's inhuman.
Governor Hochul, under your watch, New York has spent billions of dollars of taxpayer money providing free housing, clothing, food, education, and health care to illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, you're charging hardworking New Yorkers $2,500 annually just for the privilege of driving to work. Speaking of driving, when you ran for Congress, did you oppose giving driver's licenses to illegals, yes or no?
Let's see if we get a straight answer. I'm not hopeful.
No, that was previous to that. It was in 2020.
You had a commercial running for Congress touting your position.
No, but the position
about
goes back earlier than that.
driver's license.
My point.
Did you oppose giving driver's licenses to illegals when you were running for Congress, yes or no?
At the time I did,
Yes
and I'll
or
tell you
Governor,
why.
yes or no?
I had a
Yes or
chance to go out and see a very rural district.
Reclaiming my
where
time.
mothers were being denied the chance
Governor,
to drive
yes
their
or no?
kids
Do
to
you
the
support
doctor's
illegal?
office.
This is why we can't stand politicians. On both sides, they both do this. I get why they do it, but like, this is a clown show. This is theater.
Illegal immigrants getting
People were being denied the
taxpayer-funded
chance
health
to go to
care.
their jobs, and I understood.
Governor,
the merit
please
of
answer the
having it.
question.
Governor,
I'm not sure there'll ever be a real question.
you were asked a question and you chose to try to
gave an
deflect.
answer.
The fact is, you did support giving illegals driver's
It was
licenses, oppose giving illegals driver's licenses. Now you support it.
Mm-hmm.
Governor, yes or no? Do you support illegal immigrants getting taxpayer-funded health care? Yes or no?
We provide health care to people in need, including moms with new babies.
Do you support giving illegal immigrants taxpayer-funded health care? Yes or no?
We support giving money, support
The
for
answer is
healthcare
yes. You expanded health care access in 2024
Yes, I did.
under Medicaid.
for senior citizens
Governor,
and
after the
moms with
election,
new
you
babies.
said,
I would do it all
reclaiming
over
my
again.
time. Governor, after the election, you said,
She says for seniors and for moms of new babies. and they lead with that, but then they backdoor all these other loopholes so that people who should not be represented within it are. It's so slimy. And I know it happens on both sides, but we're talking about welfare, fraud, abuse today as pertains to this issue. That is so, so wrong. It's betrayal. It's betrayal.
Someone breaks the law, I'll be the first one to call up ICE and say, get them out of here. Governor, yes or no, have you personally called up ICE and asked them to get anyone out of New York?
As the governor of New York, I have an entire state police force that carries on my directions.
And asked ICE to get anyone out of New York, yes or no?
My state police acts as my agency and
You
my
have
surrogate.
not, correct?
When I say me, I'm referring to my entities such as the state police that handle
you're like
that.
Governor Cuomo, I am the government?
That's your
position?
characterization, not mine.
Yes or no, should ICE have been called on Sebastian Zapata Cali?
Can you refresh me as to the circumstances of the case?
He's the individual who burned the woman alive on the train.
Of course.
Should ICE have been called on him?
NYPD was handling that situation.
Should ICE have been called? That's my question. Yes or no?
If there was an arrest made, he should have been deported after conviction, yes.
Okay. So, Governor, when you were sworn in 2021, you signed an executive order keeping many of Governor Cuomo's executive orders in place, including EO 170. Interestingly enough, you did not include EO 170.1. Are you familiar with EO 170.1?
I don't have it in front of me. I have thousands of executive orders.
I have it right here, Governor.
I'm sure you do.
And what you did, you waited several years until this year, January 16th of this year, in which you finally signed it and reinstated it into law. Why did you wait until just 4 days before Donald Trump was sworn in as president to sign EO 170.1 into law? And to refresh your memory, it basically mandates that federal immigration authorities cannot enforce civil arrests in New York State buildings. Why did you wait several years to reinstate that?
Because we had a high level of confidence that under the previous administration that people going into the courthouses, whether they're victims of crimes, witnesses of crimes, would have their rights protected. I had no assurance
In other words,
that would
you
happen.
believe they would not enforce federal immigration law, and you were concerned that President Trump and his administration would enforce federal immigration law?
We thought it was important for victims of crimes and witnesses to murders, for example, that they have access to courts without being threatened or intimidated.
Yeah.
You know, I don't claim to be an expert on all this. I am like y'all. I do the research to the best of my ability. I present it on the video. I let y'all decide. You know, y'all leave comments. Y'all have y'all opinion. I share mine. Y'all leave y'all's. You know, we go back and forth. We learn from each other. Hopefully, some of y'all aren't so partisan that you can be exposed to new information and change your mind. But I know that we all come into these conversations with preconceived notions due to misinformation, disinformation even, and we formulated opinions that are ignorant and uninformed in some cases, but we feel passionately about them. Too many times is that true for me. So I do the research, right? And I go straight to the source, straight to the horse's mouth. I get to see the representatives for each party, and I get to hear them speak about the legislation that they wrote and what they advocate for. I live with the impacts of it, and I know what those are, but I get to hear the heart behind it when they speak. More and more, as I hear one side speaking about the issue as it pertains to legal and illegal immigration, it pushes me further and further to the right because they're not being realistic. They just appeal to the emotions without ever addressing the real problem. They treat us like we're dumb. This is a real issue. It's very popular. The American people, it's very popular amongst the American people. Yet they have an agenda where they're just disregarding the law and doing whatever they want to do. They don't represent us. That's not representing us. Just based off of this conversation and the demeanor and the types of questions asked, I'm like one notch further to the right on this. I am. And as an independent voter, that matters because I take the information in and I could be pulled to the left. I could be pulled more to the right. I'm about what's right. I'm a Christian at the end of the day. I ain't got no allegiance to nothing ultimately but Christ. So I care about what's right and what's true. And when it comes to this, it's pretty clear. And I'm willing to work with the folks about how this is implemented in a humanitarian way, in an empathetic way, in a compassionate way. There's no clean way of doing it. So I'm willing to work with, but they at first have to admit that coming into this country illegally is wrong and that we should do something about it. Now, what we do about it, how we do it, we can talk about. But it's a non-starter for me if we don't even address the state that we're in.
Yeah. Speaking of crime, more than 3,200 illegal immigrants have been arrested in New York City for committing crimes while living in taxpayer-funded housing under your watch, Governor. Governor, are you aware of any law or executive order that would prevent a citizen of New York, a citizen of the United States, from facing criminal or civil enforcement in a state building?
I'm not aware.
So you think that citizens should be treated less than and have less protections than illegal immigrants?
No,
Is that what you're saying?
Our state laws say we cooperate in all criminal cases. I've made that very clear over the last.
Yeah, but you're not doing that.
7
That's the
hours.
reality. Governor, do you
Truth
support?
is, we
do you
don't
support
help
the
them
New
with
York
civil
for All
enforcement
Act?
because civil
Governor,
enforcement
reclaiming my
isn't-
time. Do you
Go for it.
support the New York for All Act?
I'm not speaking about hypothetical
No,
bills.
Governor, this isn't a hypothetical. There was a sit-in in the state legislature today by activists blocking state senators from coming into the chamber. Do you support the New York for All Act? It's yes or no.
I will tell you this: I get about 1,000 bills put on my
you
desk probably
support
by
a New York
midnight
for All
tonight.
Act?
Which is, this is
Let's be real, guys. There's really two sides here, and both are bringing the receipts. We have conservative groups like FAIR and Heritage that estimate each illegal immigrant household costs taxpayers between $25,000 and $35,000 per year. And this is factoring in education, healthcare, food assistance, and infrastructure. Emergency Medicare alone jumped from $4.8 billion to $16.2 billion between 2019 and 2023. That's not really a small change. That's not really having a small effect on the system. We have case studies that show a woman in Iowa that received $20,000 in SNAP and Medicaid using fake documents. A man in Rhode Island was caught using stolen socials to collect $15,000 in benefits. Guys, these are the documented cases of fraud. Imagine all the things that we have not been able to expose, all the people that are getting away with it. This is a crisis that is not being spoken about. But then there's a counterpoint, because we have progressive economists and think tanks that argue undocumented immigrants are paying up to $13 billion into Social Security. And that's something that they'll never even collect. We have them saying that they also contribute $12 billion in state and local taxes. They support 1.4 million jobs through consumer spending. And then you have places like the Cato Institute that estimate that they have a net positive long-term fiscal impact if they're legalized. So based off of all the data, based off of all the stats, all of the conjecture, some of you guys might be wondering, what's the truth? That's what I woke up today thinking. When I decided I wanted to investigate this, dive into this, it's not because I'm conservative or liberal. It's because I'm an American and this matters to me. I pay a lot of money in taxes. I want to know where the money is going. And in true fashion, the answer isn't that simple. It really depends on what you count. Conservatives are counting schooling, law enforcement, infrastructure strain, and public housing use. Then you have the liberals that are focusing on wages, sales tax, and labor output. Both are technically right, but they're kind of looking at different pieces of the same broken puzzle. Meanwhile, we have the federal government that is finally beginning to start cleaning house. In 2024, HHS closed loopholes that allowed some illegal immigrants to qualify for benefits via vague administrative rules. In 2025, USDA implemented ID verification for SNAP, saving an estimated of $400 million in fraud. CMS is threatening to cut off Medicaid dollars to states that illegally fund care for undocumented adults. This is exactly what happens, the situation that we're in right now. And thank God that is being fixed. When compassion, isn't guided by wisdom.
I'm coming at this as an economist. That's my lane.
Understood.
So I'll talk about the economic effects, but I think those are dwarfed by just the visceral effect as an American looking at these images. I think that effect is far more important and far bigger than I think what's going to sound like pretty modest economic effects that I'm about to discuss. So with some colleagues, we put out a report not so long ago where we think that it's more than likely that as a result of this immigration policy, we will have negative net migration, which is to say more people leaving the country than entering the country this year for the first time in many decades. And that's going to mean a smaller economy, and that's going to mean a labor market with numbers that are going to be not so recognizable, really.
Does it mean more jobs at all for American citizens? That's the counter argument.
Startling labor market numbers as we go forward.
Well, and we've seen that in the past several jobs reports when we're thinking of the share of the foreign-born workforce. That number is going down, and it's going down substantially, raising the question of who replaces those workers. Wendy?
Americans.
Who does, who can, who's willing to?
So let's first step back a bit and talk about what's probably happening in the labor market right now. So I appreciate that the published statistics are showing things about, share of foreign born and the like. Those statistics, while, I don't mean to impugn them at all, these are large changes that are happening right now, and those statistics are probably not fully catching up with what's happening. My guess, my analysis suggests that the surge in immigration over the past few years is actually still pushing up labor supply. And the reason I say that is because there's a big swath of immigrants that are new to this country that are eligible to apply for work permits. And we have seen a surge in those work permit applications. And while approval rates are down, like for example, between April and May, this administration approved almost 700,000 work permits for recent immigrants. And so I think one of the reasons that we've seen such strong employment numbers over the past few months, on average 150,000, I think that is because labor supply is still being pushed up by the recent surge in immigration, but we can't ride that wave forever, and we're probably just about at the moment that increase in labor supply comes to an end, and we start seeing payroll employment numbers that are closer to like 30,000 a month.
Really?
10,000 a month. In a year or so, we could start seeing payroll employment numbers that are negative.
See, it's just catastrophizing. I think a lot of this could be remedied by the labor force participation rate increasing, because so many Americans have given up because the job market is cooked. So if you remove a certain segment of the population from the population because they're not supposed to be here because they're not here legally, then that does open up some jobs that otherwise would not have been opened. And as Americans who want to work but simply cannot find that there are job postings that are available that aren't just phantom postings, they will go and work those jobs. Now, a lot of them are not going to work for these wages that aren't livable. You're not going to be able to pay a legal American, which you might be able to under the table pay somebody who's here illegally. But you shouldn't want to. You shouldn't want to exploit the illegal labor of this person. And you should care enough about your fellow American citizens to pay them something that is competitive.
And that will be like a healthy, sustainable, full employment labor market, just with declining labor supply and so declining employment.
So what does that mean for participation and the unemployment rate?
So there's going to be some near-term gyrations.
A year from now, though, to your point, if we're in a negative growth on payrolls, what's the rest of the job market look like?
So I think the rest of this is going to be the cognitive dissonance, the thing that's going to be really hard about understanding the labor market that this policy has created. It could well be that we have a healthy labor market, an unemployment rate that starts with a 4.
Labor starts with a 4.
Starts with a 4. It could be a nice, healthy labor market, but we have a shrinking labor supply, and that just means shrinking employment. There are other economies.
Are wages through the roof in that world?
For a time, I think that there will be near-term gyrations. We're going to see stronger wage growth in some occupations, stronger wage growth in the agricultural sector, stronger wage.
It's almost like it pains her to say that this might work.
Growth for home health workers. But I think other parts of the economy, and particularly some cities, some areas, are actually going to see big reductions in consumer demand. We're already seeing this.
So it's hot air is what she's saying. The places that are thriving right now are thriving off of the backs of second-class citizens or non-citizens.
It's in some areas where we're seeing, big raids on immigrant communities, and businesses there are complaining that they're seeing much less demand for their products. Those businesses are going to lower their prices. They're going to lay off workers, and you're going to have deflationary effects.
Wow. Right. You got to get the hot air out. Those businesses would not exist if it wasn't for this being a problem, in the same way that a lot of the other issues that we have would not be here if this wasn't such a pervasive problem. Nobody wants to rip the Band-Aid off. No one wants to see the bleeding. No one wants to be responsible for what happens. But it has to happen because things need to be done correctly. You can't just give mass amnesty because you don't want to deal with the consequences of your lack of enforcing the law. No, nobody's going to go for that, because since you didn't enforce the law as it was supposed to be, you have American citizens that didn't do anything to anybody that are getting the butt end of the stick because for some reason it is a priority of one side to protect people who aren't even supposed to be here. That will never make sense to me. I'm sorry, it will never make sense.
I want to focus on the labor supply issue you're referring to, because we know there are people on the sidelines in this. Yep. That's why we don't have a full labor market participation. The Ag Secretary, Brooke Rollins, suggested in an interview this week that if you take the agricultural sector, for example, and the workforce that may be lost by migrants, that there are people who could replace those workers, people who need to work in order to be eligible for Medicaid. Do you expect that actually is a dynamic that will take place, that kind of changes to how you're able to access Medicaid could bring people off the sidelines?
So it's the theory of the case. I mean, I'll say there's a lot of economic analysis that suggests that if you make people poor enough and desperate enough, they will work. So I get it. If we decimate the safety,
if you make people poor enough and desperate enough, they will work. That is such a backwards way of approaching that. To the extent that you are capable, you must work. What reality is she living in? We're created to work. You must work.
The safety net. We will increase labor supply. I don't know that it will happen nearly enough to replace the, hundreds of thousands of immigrants that we're talking about no longer being in this country or not coming. And I'll also say one of the reasons why I'm skeptical that this will be a huge effect is that the labor market has been quite strong for some time. And it has been a pretty good time to get a job. And we've seen stronger labor force participation among some groups.
She's disconnected. We make videos in this all the time. This video was uploaded 3 days ago. She's disconnected from the people. She just is. It does not take a rocket scientist. Like, I'm not going to let her just sit here and lie and say that our eyes are lying to us when we see and hear what's happening out there. I know you guys have seen it. I know I've seen it. I don't believe we have a strong job market right now. I don't care what the stats say. They all lie. I do not believe it. I believe what I see people saying. I believe what I'm seeing. Mass layoffs, people who can't get a job, doing 500 applications before they're able to get gainful employment, if ever, or just giving up and then making the labor force participation rate rise. I'm not buying it. So to wrap this up, here's the reality that we're dealing with. Illegal immigrants aren't supposed to get welfare, but they do. And they're getting it through their children, through exceptions, through loopholes, and yes, even through fraud. And the worst part isn't that they're getting it. The worst part is that we're the ones paying for it. Veterans, seniors, working class families get waitlisted, rejected, or even buried under the red tape. Meanwhile, you have people who aren't even supposed to be here that are getting the benefits that they should be entitled to. Yes, there are hard-working immigrants who contribute to our economy, but intentions can't excuse broken systems. God calls us to care for the stranger, but also to uphold justice. And justice means that your tax dollars should support those who obey the law, not those who break it. We don't need more loopholes, y'all. We need clear laws enforced fairly with compassion that's rooted in truth. This isn't a political debate, guys. This is right and wrong. All of us who are Americans are entitled. It is literally our prerogative as born American citizens or people who've migrated here legally. This matters to us because it's literally our money. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys agree, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and then go to theedwardsreport.com and join over 16,000 other people that think biblically and apply that to the news and to politics. Let's build a community of people who really want to live out doing things God's way. My final question for you is, should the children of illegal immigrants have access to taxpayer-funded welfare, or should benefits be limited to families with legal status? What do you guys think? Thank you guys for watching today's video. I pray that the Lord blesses you, that he keeps you, that he turns his face towards you, that he lifts his countenance towards you, that he gives you favor, and that he gives you peace.